Trying to find out if we're live. I
It
don't
says
know.
live up in the left-hand corner.
Yeah, I just wanted to see it. Okay, we're on Twitch. So let's go for it. So, hey, everybody. Welcome to Story Ninja Live, the show where your friendly neighborhood writing ninjas, Allie Cross, that's me, and Ann Hunter,
That's me.
talk shop and teach the chops and kias.
That
This month we're discussing romance, and today Anne is going to talk to us about how a romance plot differs from a genre plot. Take it away. Well, Anne, first I want to know, how are you doing? How you doing?
how are you doing? Um, I'm well. I enjoy seeing you yesterday and planning out our podcast episodes for the year.
You
It
made
was nice
me
to get
like literally for a year.
it was nice to get some coffee and talk.
Oh, golly. I don't have a quick quip to come back to that for. So,
You know,
but I
Allie is
will,
feeling yeah, Allie
anyway,
is feeling a little under the
yes,
weather.
but I did still show up on the mat
I'm
and
so
I
proud of you.
still gave it a little bit of energy. And
Big
that's one of our themes one month, people, is how to show.
100%. Yep, 100% and 50% is still 100%.
I love that. I don't actually have that quote. I need to have it because there are more days like that for me than there are 100% days. So, anywho, take it away, Anne.
Okay, well, um, so since it's the month of love, I thought it would be fun to talk about the differences between a regular plot and a romance plot. Now, I've only written a couple of romances, so by no means am I an expert. However, I do feel like I know enough to present to you ways to tell the difference um, in writing, how to create a romance versus a story that has romance. It is my opinion you don't have to be great at writing romances in order to write a romance that is great. You just need to understand pain in all of its forms because love and joy and all those wonderful things do not exist without heartache. That's heartache and loss and pain is what makes us appreciate love and joy. Um, if you've never written a romance, you're like, I don't have a romantic bone in my body, just draw it on your personal um, life events that have given you those emotions of um, angst and wanting and heartache and heartbreak, and you will have a romance novel. Now, what is a standard romance? Well, I mean, a standard plot. With a standard plot, I like to refer to the hero's journey. And if you've never heard of that before, I recommend doing some research. No, research. It's not that bad. You can do it. I believe in you. Um,
The
the hero's
hero's
journey,
journey though is like real quick, it's the guy called to go on a quest. He
right?
accepts the quest. He adventures, learns and grows and gains the skills necessary to beat the bad guy. There are some fights, some some
Right.
falling downs, some
Yeah.
rising ups until the hero wins. Like it's your
Yeah.
very traditional classic Tolkien movie or Marvel movie.
Right. Allie's jam is plots and things like that. So she gets very excited over this kind of thing.
Except that I didn't want this topic because I didn't actually really know how romance differs. That's probably why my romance is always kind of
All flat.
is never quite enough. Hey, I would say flat. Just not romancy enough. So, so
So
carry
I
on.
was I was going to talk about what is the hero's journey.
Oh,
As
sorry.
Allie touched on, I broke it down to like more juicier stuff. Anyway, not that Allie isn't juicy.
No, go for it. I thought that you were saying just read. This is why I told you early on I would be a bad non-talker. I assumed when you said you could look it up, read about it, whatever, that you weren't going to talk about
We're
it.
talking about
So,
it.
okay.
Got this.
Okay, go.
Um, so with the hero's journey, it's a seemingly ordinary character that is called to adventure. They're not really willing to step out of their comfort zone for the sake of the journey until they're forced to do so. A mentor will often appear to help the hero attain what they need to start their adventure, and then they can be on their way. So, a good example of this is Harry Potter. He's like an ordinary kid that's treated crappy by his aunt and uncle and cousin. And then circumstances, I don't want to do spoilers for anybody that hasn't read Harry Potter, circumstances force them onto this island, and someone from the magical world shows up and takes Harry away from the awfulness of his aunt and uncle, um, and helps him get school supplies for a magical school. And that's like the call to adventure at first. So I like to think in that instance, it's actually his uncle that is preventing Harry from answering the call initially. Um, in the hero's journey, after that, they encounter trials and new friends, as well as old temptations. The only way they can succeed is becoming better than they used to be and staying the course. There must be a come to God moment where the hero asks himself why he's putting himself through all this pain and decide whether or not to continue. Ultimately, they'll face a dark moment, triumph, and become the better person they were meant to be. The rest is the reward, reluctance to return to the ordinary world, and finding the balance between the old world and the new one. Um, Again, go read Harry Potter. All of those are very much covered. He gets friends and allies that helps him, and um, he'll question like, why are we doing this? Why do we need to do this? And yeah, they figure it out. Anyway, what I like about the hero's journey is that it's cyclical. So right at that end where the hero finds the balance between the new and the old, that's where you can start book two back with a little more than ordinary character, going, oh no, 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 not this again. No. And they're forced to leave their comfort zone once again. Um, so that's a good standard plot for most books. Um, you could always add magic and anything else that calls from your to your subgenre and whatnot. So, what is romance? Romances have
It's
varying levels of Ellie. Romances have varying levels of intimacy, starting at sweet and clean, which is chase kisses only, sweet with heat, which is what Allie was doing and necking herself there a second ago, which is I did write in my lesson, a little consensual groping never hurt anyone, right? Spicy, which is often open door intimacy scenes with heated interaction. If you don't know what the difference between closed door and open door is, it's essentially what it sounds like, where a closed door, um, the romantic couple are headed off to the bedroom, but the door closes before you can see the consummation. Whereas open door, you follow them all the way there. There can be fade to black. There's that middle ground between closed door and open door, which is fade to black, where they start getting heated in the bedroom and then fade out. Open door is you're with them, watching them getting on. If that's your kink, power to you. Okay. A romance focuses on the development of the characters' relationships with one another. And the difference between, we can also talk about the heat level going up to erotica, except that erotica is not romance. Erotica focuses on the sex mostly. You'll have some character development, but mostly it's on um, the getting jiggy with it. A romance can be focused on both character development and relationship growth. If the focus is not on that, then you're not writing a romance. You're just writing a story with romance in it. Um, a good example here is Hunger Games. Like, I don't think very many people would think of Hunger Games as a romance. And yet, Peeta and Katniss fall in love and do questionable things in the cave. And I hope you see what like I'm getting at there. But romance is not the focus of those books. Allie, if you're talking, you're not coming through.
It's because
Oh, there you go.
because I had myself muted
Oh,
so that I don't interrupt you. But then
oh,
I
okay.
feel like you don't get my laughter and agreement. So
Oh, okay.
I'm going to
That's
try
fine.
to keep myself unmuted, but also try not to speak unless called upon. Okay.
Um, so what's the difference between a standard plot and a romance plot? Excuse me.
Are you
I had a Dr. Pepper before we started. The hero's journey can end in cliffhangers and not so happy circumstances, leaving openings for continuation. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't leave room for continuation with a romance series. However, a romance must end in happily ever after or happily for now. So think the couple are together, they're riding off into the sunset. Um, happily ever after, your basic Disney princess ending. Okay. Um, and then happily for now means that they are they can be together, but maybe not 100% stable yet, but it looks like it's going in that general direction. Um, if neither of those are true, if it doesn't end in a happily ever after or a happily for now, it is not a romance story. Nicholas Sparks and John Green, who are both two great writers, and a lot of people are like, oh, they write such good love stories. They don't write romance; they write tragedy. So that goes back to my theory that you don't need to be romantic in order to write romance. You just need to understand pain, which is what I think John Green and Nicholas Spark draw on. They draw on that heartache. They draw on that pain and missing out and all that. In both romance and hero's journey plots, the character must overcome their insecurities and shortcomings in order to attain their desire. Um, However, in my opinion, the hero's journey is more story driven, where the hero must conquer the story elements. We're still going to see them grow, but it really is focused more on them against the world. Whereas with romances, they're focused more on the characters and therefore character driven. Again, that's my opinion, but it's what I've noticed as I've read romances and written them. Um, it's more like them opposing each other and then opposing the world, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Allie, does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes. And the opposing each other is kind of what I talked about last week and is in our Ninja newsletter for this week. The concept that you can use both personality differences, lifestyle differences, also whether a person's sort of being their best self at the moment or their worst self at the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll meet a pair of characters who are really great for each other, but one is in not a very good place or both, but at least one is usually not in a very good place and they have to kind of overcome their personal issues, whatever they might be, like and in order to be that better partner for a person, but in real life both of you have to overcome a lot of stuff. But you can look great on paper and but if you're not willing to work on your stuff, you're probably not going to work out. So it doesn't have to be super complicated, right? It's real
Right.
life,
Yeah.
just on the page. Carry on.
One thing
Just
I
so you
was
know, I'm paying
thinking.
attention.
One thing that I want to touch on is it does have romance plots do have some similarities with Hero's Journey, whereas their call to adventure is like the meet cute, where they first bump into the potential love interest and they're both like, oh, they're cute, right? And then later on, a couple chapters, they bump into each other again, and that's when they start to really connect. That would be your call to adventure and refusal of the call because the next step is, oh no, we can't be together. And here's the reasons why. You are the corporate big shot trying to shut down my small town cookie shop, right? And turn it into this corporate empire. But eventually they start seeing, like, peeling back layers, again, character focused, and they're like, oh, but now we're together. And then they have a lot of intimacy and so on, and they realize, oh no, we really can't be together because we're awful for each other. Then they have the apart, which is like the fighting and that you would get in uh Hero's Journey, where they're improving themselves and battling until they realize, oh, they can't live without this other person. And I hate to say it, but that becomes their prize, is coming together, um, and ending in happily ever after. Along the way, you want to sprinkle in plenty of angst and wanting, and you have to just not give it to them, torture them, enjoy it. Again, pain. Enjoy torturing them, enjoy keeping them apart, because that's going to make the reader go, oh, I just want them to kiss already. That angst that's going to build and banter and all that great stuff. um if you're still unsure about writing romance and you need more resources, you can join Writing Gals group on Facebook. They're terrific. They are led by best-selling romance writers, so they really know their stuff. And I recommend reading romances of very various intimacy and spice levels. For YA, I love Jennifer Dugan. She wrote Melt With You, which I really related to, and Harper Bliss. I will warn that they are LGBT romance writers, um, but I could also recommend, like, Tristy Pinkston. Um, I'm trying to think of her other name. She goes by Emily, Amelie something. Um,
Also, Liz Isaacson.
yes, thank
Um,
you. I was going to say Lindsay too. I can't, the one with the
oh,
twins.
I mean, Rebecca Connolly, Lindsay Hillier or Hiller. I can't remember now.
I can't remember, but I'm just thinking like Lindsay with the twin boys. I can't remember her last name.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Dang it.
Hmm.
Anyway, there's plenty to choose from out there. Um, just kind of look at the blurb, and a good blurb will tell you, it will give you some indication of what the spice level is, whether
Spicy.
you're reading like Sweet and Clean or BDSM. So that's
Yes.
just it. That is the difference between a um romance plot and a hero's journey. Really, it's again, for romance, you're focusing on the romance and developing the characters and why they cannot be together. Uh, Again, that goes back to, you don't need to. be a great romance writer to write a great romance because your focus is to keep them apart. And that's really like the kicker and build on that tension and angst. Um, yeah, that is my lesson. Huzzah. Now we get
Huzzah!
now we get
Thank
to fill up
you.
40 minutes of I don't know.
Thank you, Master Anne.
Thank you.
Um, in her dojo, I'm pretty sure they call their teachers, what do you call your teachers? Master or
It goes
sensei?
it goes
Oh,
by
yeah, it
rank.
would be sensei.
So um our master, high master is Kyosanim. Um no, it's Sabanim. It's either Sabanim or Kyosanim. I should really sit in a class
What do you call
again.
your teachers in class?
Mr. and Ms. Ma'am. Yeah, we don't say sensei or yes sensei. We see either yes ma'am or yes sir, or if we need to get their attention, we would say like Mr. Joey or Miss Carol,
Yeah.
or we if it's Master Sorensen, we would say ma'am, or we would say Master Sorensen.
Yeah.
She's
Okay.
our grandmaster.
That's that. I get that. That's how it is in ours too. Um, so I was thinking, well, I wrote this book. It's t- it's tech it oh my gosh. I always have like a ramp up to talking that involves lots of stops and starts. So lately I've been thinking a lot about a book I wrote a few years ago, that I thought was a romantic suspense. I mean, I think it is. Um, it's called Never Again, but that's not the title I want for it. It's just always the title that comes to my mind. And I've asked Chat GPT to help me with titles, and it gave me some great titles, and I wrote them down, but the title that I always remember is Never Again. Anyway, um, I was told by a very famous um, romance writer that it was not romance, or that I did not write romance, I should say. And so I wasn't sure that it was romance, but I wanted it to be, or what was it? And so basically, it is the story of um, a woman who leaves her abusive ex-husband, who kind of can't leave her alone, and she runs away from him, and she crosses borders to come to the States illegally. And she gets found out by an INS agent, an international naturalization agent. I think they have a different name now. Anyway, and he sort of ends up helping her avoid her husband, and they fall in love and end up together. And I thought, romance, maybe, but I know that I'm weak on romance. So then I had Tristy Pinkston read it, and primarily to answer the question, is this a romance? And she and it is, but it needs more romance. So, and I am not good at that. I'm pretty good, Coach Ann,
Yeah.
at the keeping them apart. So, how do you and this is a real life question about my real life book, and this is the real life reason I haven't progressed with this book, because I don't quite know how to bring them together and then pull them apart, and bring them together and pull them apart. Or I guess I bring them together. I just don't know how to make the bringing them together feel romancy. I know
Has
that's kind of vague, but do you have any tips?
um more banter, more intimate touching, not like groping, but
The
like
touch of a hand or their
yeah,
knees
touching or
touching.
touching their hair or caressing. Those are all intimate touches.
Uh-huh.
And add more of those and give them reasons why they can't be together. So to the point where it gets to, I don't care anymore. I want to be with this person. And
Right.
then they do get together and then they realize, oh, we're really bad together. And we like, I have these problems I need to sort through first before we can proceed. Or they have a big fight. Again, you can, in that time, you can really focus on them having that sweet, cute, or intense relationship until the other person is so full of guilt or whatever the emotion is that they have to have a fight and or break up.
Mm.
So that's how you break them apart, and then they
I'm
need
good at the
to.
breaking them apart. I'm just not great at the living in the moment. Like, I don't think I give them enough together time.
Mhm.
And so I need to work on adding some of the
Add a
cues
couple
like you were
scenes,
talking about. Yeah.
or you can if he's trying to protect her, if there's a gunfight scene or whatever, um, she can land in his arms or his lap, or there's always
Yeah.
opportunities to amp up the angst.
Yeah. Mm. Um, what
That
is
help?
I talk
You're like,
better.
oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's just that, like, I don't know how you are when you talk about a story that you're still sort of close to. It, I have to look at it and see what you mean and see how that works before I can respond.
Yeah.
Thank you. I shall
One
go
great
forth and
thing
try those things. What?
One great thing that we
Yeah.
offer to our viewers is you can always come to us and we will coach you through whatever you're missing out on. I don't know if Allie is available via Zoom. She probably is. Um, but I for sure will do Zoom with you so we can actually have your document open and do screen share and work on it together and point stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah. We do offer coaching. We just haven't actually made it official yet,
Well, no, it's
but
official.
Anne is more official than I am. Um, so let's talk about some movies for a minute.
Sure.
Romance and movies, because I am terrible at remembering book stuff. Even though I'm a writer, that's not what sticks in my head. Movies
Right before we
stick.
get to that, well, I have it on my brain.
Yeah.
Another fantastic resource. Victorine Lieski wrote a book. I think it's called Romancing the Beat. But what she does is it's kind of genius. She actually takes one of her romance books and breaks it down like almost line by line and say, this is why you do this. This is why it's this way. And she shows you how to write a romance by nitpicking her own book. It's awesome. So her name is Victorine, Vic Torine, Lieske, Lieske.
And the book
Um,
is called How to Write a Swoon Worthy
there you go.
Sweet Romance Novel.
It's a
And
very
there
good
is a
resource.
book out there called Romancing the Beat. And I had her name in my head right before I started speaking. And it's good. I have that book and it was helpful. What I really liked about that book is if you're coming from a Save the Cat background, um, it will sound and feel very much familiar. So that was good for me. But Victorine, so she's got two books in this series, the Swoon Worthy Romance. I need to check out her book because her second one is Second Chance Romance. I like that she's got very specific romance tropes
Yeah,
that you can look at.
subgenres.
Yeah, because she's showing you a real sort of formula. And I know we writers, we hate that word formula because we all want to think that we're writing something new and wonderful and creative. And if we're writing something to a formula, then it must not be creative
But
because
here's the
that sounds
thing,
like math.
even the hero's journey is formulaic. It
Even the
really
what?
is. The hero's journey.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
So it's
there
funny,
has
and it's
been a
like
formula to storytelling since, was it
the
Plato?
first spoken word.
Yeah. I mean, that's why scary movies or scary stories work because, you have these certain plot points that are necessary. You can't tell a romance story and then go dun 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 and then he murdered her. Like
Yeah.
that wouldn't work.
Well, that
Everybody
got dark fast.
yeah, everybody would be wondering like where were the clues? Where were the hints and everything because readers love to feel we love to feel. We want to know like, "Oh my gosh, something really bad is about to happen," or "Oh my gosh, they're about to kiss. I just know it. When are they going to kiss?" And then they don't and you're like, "Oh, when's the next time?" Um Formula is a part of storytelling. Just
Right.
because somebody's written it down and tells you this much of your story should be about this, and then the next bit of your story should be about this, does not take away from your creative genius inside that. It's the same as
Right.
how they say there are no new stories, only new
New
voices,
ways
or I
to tell
actually
them. I
can't.
was going to say that exactly that.
Yeah,
There are no new stories, only new ways to tell them. And
exactly.
one great thing about writing, even if you're all using the same formula, even if you give two writers the exact same plot, written out beat by beat, you're still going to get two entirely different stories.
Yeah. One of my classes that I teach on Save the Cat is I have this exercise where I ask for two people who are here in Utah. It's pretty easy. I ask who here went to BYU, which is like a very popular university here. And I ask them a couple very specific questions about their experiences at BYU. And and this even typically if they went to BYU and they live here in Utah, they also belong to the same religion. So there's so much similarity there. Like and you would think they would answer the questions in virtually the same way. They never ever do. And it's really fun because the people in the classroom are expecting, even though I know they're knowing what the punchline is, because one thing writers are super good at, like, I would bet all of us watch movies and we're like, whispering to our partner, he's going to do this, or this is
Yeah.
about to happen. Because we
That
get,
drove my husband bananas when we first started dating.
I know I've had to learn not to do that. Because we're really good. Like that's partly what makes us good writers is we're really good at intuitively dissecting story. And even people who know that that's the punchline I'm getting to when I teach that point are still surprised. The people themselves are surprised. They look at each other like, didn't you experience this? And they're like, nope, never did, whatever. And because they were, their particular interests and their voice and what's important to them and the people they were hanging out. So many things change one person's experience from another. And the exact same thing is true when we write a story. Um, so I think that I love formulas because especially since I feel insecure about writing a romance, I think I'm more insecure than I am bad at it, although I do know that I just need more. That is usually the request that my readers give me, like in my non-romancy books, because I write paranormal with some romance, not romantic paranormal or whatever.
Right.
can't speak. Um, and I think it's because I don't spend enough time there in the lovey-dovey stuff. And it doesn't even have to be lovey-dovey stuff, but there needs to be connection and like those tips you were saying. And but I like having a formula so that I can know, okay, they really should like kiss or have a super near kiss at like the midpoint. Um, and but they really, really need to kiss at least by the end if you're writing a sweet romance. I'm rereading Jennifer Armentrout's Flesh and Bone, I think is the first book of her. Yes, can't remember. I love the series, can't remember because, yay, I remembered her name. Therefore, I can't remember anything else. But it pretty much starts with heat. And then you get into the fantasy. And so you really know this is a romance with fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah,
But,
and
you
not
know,
the
if
other
you're,
way around.
yeah, yeah. And I think that she had a lot of pushback because I think people were expecting her book to be young adult. And I actually thought it was young adult and was quite surprised when we got into some later, very steamy stuff. But I went with it because I loved the story. But she got a lot of like complaints and everything when her book first came out, but because they didn't expect it to get that steamy because they thought it was young adult. Part of that is on the fault of her publisher and or Amazon, who I went and checked Amazon and it is listed as a young adult, which is very unfortunate because and it's entirely possible that her publisher did not put young adult, but Amazon did, but it did lead to this major thing. But now that I'm listening to it again,
Tangent with Amazon, they have like a new policy that they will not put your book where you request it in as far as categories go. You can put it in keywords and your book ends up wherever it does. And like I've tried since I've had some of my fiction books end up in nonfiction because that's where they were ranking highest. And I'm like, this is incorrect. Like I'd rather be in the correct genre, um, and fiction versus nonfiction and have a lower rank than be wrong and not
yeah,
the right audience.
thanks for the reminder because I remember when that email came out in the fall or something, and Kindlepreneur, who I really dig, and that's like the only industry blog I follow, came out saying like, go and check all of your books and make sure, that it's somewhere okay because of that change. So, and I have not done that yet. So thank you for the tip. But yeah, so like her book had fallen into this weirdo category. And so
You're
she
welcome.
was then like telling people it's not a young adult book, it is an adult book. But now that I'm listening to it again and I hear the spiciness that it even starts with, I think, how could I or anybody else have been mistaken? Because I feel like she did a good job of setting the tone. This is just the very first getting together of this couple, people, and look how steamy it is. So, and they don't even know each other. She's wearing a mask and he's pretending to be somebody else. So, of course, it's going to get steamy, but I didn't clue in, and neither did a lot of other readers. But so I don't really know what my point was, other than, formulas. Formulas are good. They're there for a reason to help people know what book they're reading, to help you know what book you're writing, and it's totally okay if to follow a formula. I am glad to know that I have just been writing Save the Cat books, therefore no romance. So um, I need to do better. And you gave some great tips.
Oh, thank you. Romantic movies. Back to the topic that
Yeah.
we were gonna discuss. Are we like talking about our favorite romantic movies or what?
Let's talk about why we think the romance in it worked
Okay.
or didn't or whatever.
Now, do we want it to be specifically romance movies or movies with romance in it?
You're the boss here, lady.
Okay,
You
well, I just
decide.
want to say one of my all-time favorite
Yeah.
movies, regardless of romance, it does have romance in it, is Stardust. I love Stardust.
I love
Um,
Stardust too, but it's been a long time.
we need
Quick
to have a watch
rundown.
party.
What? Is it
We
the
should have a watch
Pirates?
party. Yeah, it's got De Niro in it, and
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, he's a
yeah,
cross-dressing pirate. Okay,
fantastic.
now I remember.
Hilarious to see
That
the
was
most
like one of
macho.
my favoriteest roles of his ever.
Yeah, the
Even
most
though,
macho man in Hollywood is
yep,
cross-dressing pirate.
and it
And
made
then
him no less
right.
um
His crew was like, we always knew you were like that. It's like, no, we still love you.
love it.
And
So
that's a
far
beautiful
ahead
moment.
of its time and perfect.
Yeah. So
Okay,
I love Stardust. What were we covering?
romance
Romance. I
because
love the romance because it is kind of sweet and swoony because he starts out Tristan, he starts out in love with basically the girl next door who is ultra snooty and high class, and he wants to give her that world. I mean, she's as high class as a country girl can go, but he wants to give her, the fancy like Paris life or whatever. And so, on one of their dates, he says that as the star is falling behind him, he says, "I will bring back that star for you, and that will show you how much I love you." But when he gets there, I'm sorry if this is a spoiler, the star is not actually a
the
star, and
story's
the
been
rest of
out
the
for like
journey,
20 plus years, so I think you're safe at this
right,
point.
right, the book has, but you know very well the book is never like the movie.
Well, the movie's been out for a long
Several
time.
years. Yeah, yeah. I know, but some people may not have watched Stardust.
Oh.
I'm just saying, okay? Anyway, the rest of the movie is spent with this fallen star uh trying to get back to the girl that he loves, but he ends up falling in love with the star that has fallen, um who has changed form by coming down to earth. And
Into
there's
a
these moments
girl.
like where there's this moments where you can tell that she's falling in love with him as they're doing like this dance lesson, and he starts glowing, and the cross-dressing pirate De Niro, he gets a chance to dance with her, and he says, um you need to like take this down a few notches or everybody's going to know what you really are. But he says it in a way like a dad or uncle would, that is loving and protective. And he's like, I can tell when you're happy because you glow. And so when she goes back and dances with Tristan again, she can't help it. She just goes, glowy, glowy, glowy. And there's just these cute moments like that where um you can tell that they're starting to fall for each other, or Tristan tries to protect her and completely fails, or and the other way around. And yeah, it's just really cute. Go watch it if you haven't. It's worth it. It's just
My
makes me feel warm and gushy.
okay, let's see. So I have two favorite well, okay. I actually really love romance and my husband loves romance as well. So I can actually get him to go see a romance with me from time to time. So, and he watches Hallmark movies with me and stuff. Um, but I'm trying to think of like good examples of romance from romance movies. So, what comes to my mind, you talk Stardust, I immediately think of Ever After, which is Drew Barrymore's
Yeah,
Cinderella.
the
That
ultimate
is,
Cinderella retelling.
yes, that is what I think too. I mean, I think Drew is fantastic in it. There's a little bit of girl power in it, which is awesome, but it is still the the quintessential Cinderella story, which
Yep.
sometimes is sometimes hard to do, like some remakes don't quite hit Cinderella while also making it contemporary. And this is one way, I mean, how much more formulaic can you get than redoing a fairy tale, right? Because
Right.
we already know how it's going to end. We already know like the basic plot points. So what do you do to make it special? Well, Ever After just knocks it out of the park. There's this one scene where she and her paramour get caught by gypsies, and she does a
They,
deal with the gypsies that she can leave
she
with
can walk
whatever
away with anything she can carry.
yes. And what do you know? And they're thinking, ta, she's got her heavy dress. Like, just imagine they've been in the water and everything. Her dress would be so heavy and everything. They think she's a little girl. What could she carry? And doesn't she just go and pick up that guy and sling him over her shoulder in a fireman's carry and walk herself out of their little grove?
She's like,
And
what?
like, it's just so boss. I love it.
Yeah,
But
she starts making the Romanis like they just laugh their heads off and they're like, come
yes,
back.
because
We'll get
a
the horses.
gypsy loves nothing more than a good con, right? Like a good, and she pulled it off. Like, she pulled it off better than like, she could have been one of them. And I think later they kind of come into the story and they're totally willing to help her and stuff because they see in her a sort of kindred soul. Like, she's an honorary gypsy. But what I love about their romance story is that even while she is pretending to be someone, so, she's pretending to be a type of person she's not, i.e., a princess type ish adjacent lady. She's pretending to be a lady. She is not ever lying about who she is as a person. Like, her values, her points of view, none of she doesn't sacrifice any of who she is in order to please a man. And he, for his part, loves her even though she challenges him to question the norm, the way things have always been done, like with the peasants or the servants and different things. And but of course, they have a very natural built in why they can't be together. Um, but I feel like they earn sort of the blessing, fairy godmother. It's kind of like a god, situation. They earn that good fortune at the end by being decent people and by being true to who they are and loving each other anyway. Like, at first, when he finds out, he's hurt and everything else. But then their mutual friends say, she is exactly the same. It is only her station that's different. And had she not been jilted, well, jilted is the wrong word because had she not been betrayed by her stepmother, of course, she would have been a fine station to marry him. But I love that. I love that when they come together, there's that banter because they, of course, hardly
Yeah.
touch at all, except for like when she's drowning or he thinks she's drowning or something, and he tries to save her, and like she carries him out. Like, so there are some things, but they're not really. It's more like hurry, hurry, quick, stop touching me because it's totally inappropriate. But they do it all through banter and the way they talk about each other when they're not together, and how else, in longing looks and sighs. um I guess I don't watch very much spicy stuff because I can't think most of the
So
most of
your spicy stuff would be like 50 Shades of Grey.
which I never
That's
watched.
like
So
your
I
me
or
neither,
read.
but like yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying I guess I haven't watched, many like that because I can't bring to mind any examples. Um I can think of so a great I was going to say all I can think of are sci-fi examples because of course I go to Fifth Element because you can't have Fifth Element without the romance between. Oh, did you say this? If you did, I totally forgot that you're writing a romance if you don't have a story without the romance, right? Isn't that true?
Well,
Like,
the focus, like, so the difference is that in a hero's journey, is focused on the character overcoming the settings versus romance is focused on the character and the development of the relationship.
yeah. And I heard that put some way that was like a clever can't have a romance with whatever. Like if you could take all the romance out and you would still have a perfectly great story, then you're not really writing a romance. But if you take all the romance out and your story falls apart,
That's a
that's
romance.
the ticket. And I think Fifth Element is a great example of that because even though it's a sci-fi and it's totally a hero's adventure, like he gets the call, like everything is pretty traditional that way. But if you took out the romance, the fifth element, who is this weapon slash woman who is going to save the world from darkness forever, from evil darkness, she doesn't work without love. Um, she needs to understand and know love in order to save the world. Otherwise, what's the purpose of saving us? Because without love, we're not a very good people sometimes. Like we're not good. We do a lot of bad stuff, but it's the love that makes us worth saving. So that's great. Another great example. Did you ever see Silver Linings Playbook? Bradley
Yes.
Cooper and
It was okay. It was,
uh,
yeah, Jennifer Katniss.
Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence. Um, I love it as a romance. It's actually one of my more favorite movies, but now I'm curious to know why you didn't like it. Was it the whole story? Was it the swearingness? Was it the
No,
romance?
I think it was the pacing just felt
Mm.
slow.
It was slower. Um, but I can't remember enough to make it worthwhile to talk about.
So
Okay.
one of my this might sound silly, but one of my other favorite romances is actually Shrek.
Oh,
Yeah. And I related on like a personal physical level with Fiona. Like it even has like all the elements of a romance. It's like we want to be together, but here are the reasons why we can't be together. And then he until they finally decide, no, we can't not be together. So yeah,
I don't know that
I yeah.
I've maybe seen it once, that particular one. That's like the second one or the third one.
No, it's the first one.
Does he rescue the
What?
Oh, I guess he does rescue the princess in the first one. Do
Yep,
they come together in the first one?
yep.
Oh, goes to show you what I know. I wasn't ever really a fan of Shrek, although I did love the themes of it. Um,
Yeah.
speaking,
I wasn't a fan of like the sequels, but I
mm,
really like the first one.
yeah,
And it has a happily ever after. So
yeah. Speaking of, this is totally off topic, so I should shut up about it, probably. But it is sort
no.
of a romance. We went and saw Argyle the other night,
Oh my gosh, Argyle is so good.
and it was
Like
like,
it's not it's the they okay, so like we were talking
I
about
was
earlier
talking.
about hang on, I want to relate. This is how I relate. So, like you were saying earlier, as writers, when we go to the movies, we can see what's coming. Argyle is the first movie in my life I did not see that plot twist. Like, OMG.
I know, and it's a new movie, so we really
It's like
can't,
the Blind Side
yeah,
completely.
really can't give that one away. I wasn't, it was pretty close. I was near about shocked. I think I figured it out like one, seconds before it happened. But
Yeah,
I
same.
was just gonna
But it was still
say
like,
one thing that I loved about that movie, like it was the weirdest movie to go see because we had really no clue what we were going to see. And I think it would have bombed before that reason because the even the blurb about it online, like everything about it does not actually say what it is. And is because there's nothing else good to watch. So we went to see it. But I hope that it does really well because it's very clever and funny and fun movie. It's a spy movie, and it is a spy movie. It's just not the spy movie you think you're going to see.
yep,
But something I love about it is that the girl, the main character girl, is not your Gwyneth Paltrow willowy
yeah,
heroine girl.
yeah,
Um,
she's very average.
Yes, she looks maybe chubby on screen, but she's probably just like a size 12 or something in real life. But I love that because that is the reality of women. And the man sometimes looks good looking and other times not so much. And sometimes seems like the hero and other times he's just the dorky guy kind of
Yeah,
thing. And they totally make a great romance. And I just really, really felt to applaud Hollywood or whomever it was who developed that movie because I thought that it's about time we see, even though I will admit I struggled to fall in love with with the hero in the way that I would have had it been Pierce Brosnan or, you know, Tom Cruise or whatever. But I know my husband sitting beside me felt seen and like, yeah, like I could be that kind of hero. And I felt seen like, yeah, I mean, she wasn't the most flexible girl on the planet, whatever, but she got stuff done, you know?
yeah,
And I love that. And I think I look forward to seeing more of that. And
yeah. That
because
was a
romance is
very,
good.
very fun movie. One that is similar is I can't remember the title of it, but it's basically Sandra Bullock and Tatum. What's his bucket?
The
He's
Channing Tatum one,
Yeah, he's big, beefy. Anyway, she's a romance writer, and she actually ends up getting kidnapped
you're going to
by
give away what's actually similar
Harry
in the movie.
Potter. Anyway, the rest of it is really funny, and it
And
it
not
is
the couple you would expect to end up together because
right,
there's an
right.
age difference. And there are some comments about her not being hot enough for him or something or other. And I think, what? I mean,
It's Sandra freaking Bullock. How
I
dare you?
know. I know. I dare anybody to watch Miss Congeniality and not
I
come
was just gonna
away
say that.
totally in love with Sandra because she is awesome.
And Blindside.
Okay, so we are out of time. Coach Ann, do you have a kata for us this week for romance?
No, I was depending on you, but
Oh, no, it's all on you, lady.
okay, if anybody has romance in their current work, look to see where you can amp it up
That's what I got to
for
do.
banter, for intimate touches, for um, wanting to be together but keeping them apart.
Long glances and
And then like long glances, but then the other person almost catches them doing the long
yeah.
glance. Yeah, those are always
Yeah,
fun.
all of those cheesy little things. Don't you kind of think maybe first draft wise, whatever, is don't judge yourself. Like just if you write in all the cheesy romancy things,
Yeah,
because 90% of the time, those are actually the real romance things. And when you go back through your edits, you can edit out the stuff that doesn't fit or that feels like too much. But I think I write too slim and then it's harder to add it back in. I feel like I would rather add more and take it out. But okay, I will take your challenge, Coach Anne, and I will go forth and conquer some romance scenes. And that's all for us, guys. Next week, we are still in February, so we're gonna do a joint one. You're like, wasn't this already joint? That's because I talk too much. Although Anne was so good today, I mean, for one thing, she talked for 20 minutes straight without me interrupting her, just about almost, and had lots to say here. So you just need to get her talking. See what I mean? You just got to get her talking, and she goes. But before we finish the month of love, we want to talk about the ever important self love. And especially as a writer, if you want to be a published writer or continue to be a published writer, Allie, because I haven't published anything in a long time, if you want to be that person, you're going to have to love yourself a little bit and your own goals. And
Yep.
that can be hard with life. And we're going to discuss that in next week's show. So,
Frank Jacks.
time. We don't have a good sign off. So, be awesome.
Oh, what if we just bow out? I'll
No,
bow us out.
yeah, it's kind of weird. Okay. So I don't know how to. This is me slapping the
Yeah.
sides.
All right.
And
Yeah.
we'll see
Yeah.
you next time.
Wait,
All right.
wait. Caveat is put, square shoulders, put your hands to your side. Gunye, we bow.
Okay.
Konsamada, thank you.
That's right. If you'll have to
See you
keep
next
trying
week.
to teach us the how you end part because you did do it last week too. And I already can't remember. So thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.